All right, let's dive into data security on GCP. Today, we're putting on our architect hats to really get a handle on encryption. It's a huge topic, so let's jump right in.
So, you've moved your data to the cloud. Great. But can you actually prove it's secure? And I mean really prove it. It's easy to say, oh yeah, it's encrypted. But it's a whole different ballgame when you're sitting across from an auditor or your CISO and they say, show me. That's the real challenge we're going to break down today. Okay, to make this real, let's walk through a scenario I'm sure many of you can relate to. Picture this. You're a senior architect. You've got this high-stakes project. It's a regulated workload. You're dealing with sensitive PII, personally identifiable information. And, of course, there's an auditor breathing down your neck just waiting for answers.
Right. The auditor is coming. The pressure is definitely on. Your project's success. It's not just about whether the app works. It's about being able to prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that the data is secure and you're meeting all those compliance rules. The stakes are super high.
So what's the mission? Well, our architect needs to lock down two different kinds of data. First, you've got your standard application logs. They're important for sure, but maybe not super sensitive. Then you've got the PII. That's the crown jewels, right? Both need to be secure, no question. But that PII, that needs an extra verifiable layer of control to keep the auditors happy.
Now, the good news here is that our architect isn't starting from scratch, not at all. Google Cloud actually gives you a really strong security baseline right out of the box. So let's take a look at this first line of defense, Google's default encryption shield. Okay, this is honestly a game changer. What does it mean? It means any data you write to a service like cloud storage or BigQuery gets encrypted automatically before it even hits the disk. Google handles all of it, the keys, the rotation, the whole 9 yards. And the best part? It's on by default and you literally can't turn it off. It's just there protecting you. Here's a great way to think about it. It's like your data is moving into a brand new apartment building. The building manager has already installed a really good, high-quality lock on every single door. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to call a locksmith. You're just secure from the second you move in. That's default encryption.
But for our architect and her regulated workload, that standard lock, as good as it is, just isn't going to cut it. Why? Because the auditor doesn't just care that there's a lock. They need to know who holds the key. And that's what brings us to the next level. Your keys, your control. So the first step up the ladder is something called CMEK, which stands for Customer Managed Encryption Key. Now, the interesting thing about CMEK is the balance it strikes. You get to control the life cycle of the key, when it's created, when it's rotated, when it's destroyed. But the key itself, it lives inside Google's super secure Cloud Key Management Service, or KMS.
Let's go back to our apartment analogy. This is like the building manager saying, hey, we've installed a high-security safe in your apartment. They provide the super strong box, but only you know the combination. You create it, you manage it, and you have total control over who gets to open it. And then there's the final level, CSEK, or Customer Supplied Encryption Key. Now, this is for when you have some really extreme compliance requirements. With CSEK, you are responsible for, well, everything. You create the keys completely outside of Google Cloud, you manage them, you store them, and you only supply them to GCP when it needs to encrypt or decrypt your data. So, to finish our analogy, this isn't about a lock or a safe anymore. This is you hiring an external security firm to bring in your own personal bank vault and install it in your apartment. You have absolute total control. But, and this is a huge but, if you lose the key to that vault, your stuff is gone forever. Google can't help you. It's the definition of ultimate control, but it also comes with ultimate responsibility. Okay, this table really breaks it all down nicely. You've got default encryption, Google's in control. You have zero management overhead, perfect for most general workloads. Then in the middle, you have CMEK. You control the key, but it's inside GCP. There's a bit more management involved, but this is really the sweet spot for regulated data. And finally, CSEK. Total control, with the key living outside of GCP. This means high management overhead, and it's really meant for those extreme compliance situations. It's all about picking the right tool for the right job.
All right, so now that we know the options, how does our architect actually build the solution? Remember, she's got two different types of data, so she needs to make two different decisions.
First up, the logs. For the application logs going into cloud storage, she makes a really smart, pragmatic choice. Just stick with the default encryption. It's plenty secure for that kind of data, it ticks the boxes for baseline requirements, and best of all, it adds zero extra work for her team. Simple, smart, efficient.
But then there's the PI, the really sensitive stuff in BigQuery. For this, she goes with CMAC. Why? Because now she can walk into that audit and say, look, we own the encryption key. We control its entire lifecycle, and right here is a log of every single time that key was used to access data. It's the perfect balance of security, control, and most importantly, provability. And this isn't just a technical choice. It's what allows the business to even operate in this space. That provable control is how you build trust.
Okay, so picking CMMA SCK is one thing, but now comes the big question. How do you actually prove to the auditors that you're in control? It really boils down to 3 pillars of proof. First is IAM, or Identity and Access Management. This is where you get super specific about who is allowed to use the keys. Second, you have key rotation. You've got to be regularly changing those keys to limit the blast radius if one ever gets compromised. And third, audit locks. This creates a rock-solid, unchangeable record of every single time a key is used. That's your paper trail. Now, key rotation might sound kind of complicated, but conceptually, it's pretty simple inside Cloud KMS. You just create a new version of your key, you tell the system, hey, this new one is the primary one now, you re-encrypt your data, and then you disable the old key version. That's it. It's a clean, auditable process that makes everything that much more secure. So our architect has done it. She's designed a secure, compliant solution, and she is ready for that auditor. So let's wrap this up by boiling her whole journey down into some actionable security recommendations for you. All right, here are your 3 key takeaways. Number 1, start with the default encryption. It's powerful, it's free, and it's a fantastic baseline for everything. Number 2, use CMK for compliance. When you absolutely have to prove you're in control and manage that key lifecycle, CMK is your best friend. And number 3, and this is maybe the most important, master your IAM and your auditing. Look, the keys are just one piece of the puzzle. Being able to control who has access and then prove what they did, that is what security is all about. It's what makes your system truly trustworthy. So, you have the keys. The real question is, are you ready to take control? Google Cloud gives you all the tools you need, from the standard lock to the high-security safe, and even lets you bring your own vault. The choice and the control is all yours. Thanks for joining me.